Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. So with this question, we need to first of all count how many sides this polygon has. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's 10 sides. And we just need to know that a 10-sided shape is a decagon. Now we are expected to know all of the names of shapes between 3 and 10 sides. So if you don't know them already, just sit down and learn them. To find the factors of 30, we're just going to write down all the factor pairs or all the pairs of numbers that multiply together to make 30. So 1 times 30 is 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10. Now 4 doesn't go because 30 is not in the 4 times table. 5 times 6, and we notice that if we pick 6, it's just going to be 6 times 5, it's just going to be the opposite. So the factors are all the numbers that we've just written down, so it would be 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15 and 30. So 55% is the same as 55 over 100. And what I can do is I can divide top one of the fraction by 5. And so that is going to equal 11 over 20. Now in total there are 20 squares here because there's 5 across and 4 down. 5 times 4 is 20. And if there's 20 squares and we're looking to shade in 11 20ths, it's just going to be 11 squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Median just means middle, but it's the middle of the ordered list. So the first thing we need to do is put these numbers in order. So we're going to have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 9. And to find the middle, what we do is we cross off the smallest and the largest and we put our pen away. Then we do the same thing again, smallest, largest, pen away. Now you see here that I can't cross out the smallest and largest because that will leave no numbers at all. So when you're left with 2 in the middle, all you need to do is add them together and divide by 2. So 5 plus 6 is 11. And 11 divided by 2 is 5.5. And if you look, 5.5 is exactly halfway between 5 and 6. So we need to rewrite this fact here so that it looks like this. So I'm just going to focus on this fact, and what I'm going to do is divide 99 both sides. So we end up with 24 equals 2,376 divided by 99. Now you can see that that looks like that, which is kind of the point. So I'm just going to swap that around. So 2,376 divided by 99 equals 24. And I'm going to write this underneath so we can see the similarity. So 2,376,000 divided by 99,000 equals. Okay, let's have a look at what's happening between these two numbers. So this part here is multiplied by 1,000 and this part here is multiplied by 100. So what effect is the fact that the first numbers multiplied by 1,000 going to have on our answer? Well, it's obviously going to make it 1,000 times bigger. So it will make it 24,000, won't it? 2, 3. So that's that bit done. But what effect will multiplying the denominator have by 100 on our answer? Okay, so if you think about a half, if we times the bottom by 100, it becomes 1 over 200. Now, what is this compared to that? What is 1 over 200 compared to 1/2? Well, it's 100 times smaller. So when you're doing stuff to the denominator, you're actually making it smaller. So this times 100 is making our answer 100 times smaller. So we just knock off 2 of the zeros. We divide it by 100. So our answer will be 240. So the first thing we're going to do is write this as a ratio between the fractions. So we're going to have green to black. Now it says that a quarter of the counters are black, and therefore the remaining counters will be green. So if a quarter are black, that leaves 3/4 to be green. And what we can do here is on both sides of the ratio, what I'm going to do is just times it by 4. So I'm just going to times 4 both sides. So 3 divided by 4 times 4, because over 4 just means divided by 4. So 3 divided by 4 times by 4 just gets rid of the fraction. And 1 divided by 4 times 4 is just going to be 1. Now, this might surprise some people because they will probably think it's a ratio of 4 to 1. But we can show here that it's a ratio of 3 to 1. So for this question, we just need to pick one of the coordinates. And I'm just going to pick this one here. And we just need to work out what the coordinates are. Well, it's going up in 2, so it's going to be 4 on this side. And this is kind of 4.5, so that's going to be 19 there. So we know it's 19 at the bottom and 4 at the side here. So we're going to have a look on our table for a 4 and a 19. We've got a 19 and 23 here. It's got to be a 4 and a 19, which is here. And it shows that the 4 is for paper 1 and the 19 is for paper 2. So our answer will just be paper 2. To get from the length of a square to the area, we square the length. To work backwards, what we do is we square root, because the inverse of square is square root. So we've got 196, and we're going to square root it to find the length. So we work out the square root of 196, which is what number times itself is 196. And you should learn them from 1 to 15, so you should know all of the square numbers from 1 to 15. So you should know that the answer is 14. So the length therefore is 14. So to work out what the perimeter is going to be the distance around the square. So if I draw a square out, we know that each of these lengths are 14. So it's just going to be 14 times 4. Which will be 56. To find the surface area of the cuboid, I'm just going to label the faces and do them individually. So we've got A, which is 24 by 13. So we're going to do 24 times 13, which is 312. Next we're going to do B, which is this one at the top, and it's 24 across and 8 is the length, so 24 times 8, which is 192. And finally C on this side here, which is going to be 13 times 8, which is 104. Now notice that the faces all have the exact same face on the opposite side. So this one at the back is also A, this one at the side is also C, and the one at the bottom is also B. So what I'm going to do is add up all the areas of the squares and double it. So to work out the surface area, we're going to do 2 times and then 312 plus 192 plus 104, and that will give me 1,216 centimeters cubed squared, because it's an area. So the question asks us to work out the bearing of the cinema from the train station. So from the train station means we're at the train station and we're looking at the bearing, which are always from north going clockwise, of the cinema. So it's this one here. To be able to do that, we need to remember a few bits about parallel lines. So we've got a parallel line here, and all lines point to north are always parallel. And these angles make a kind of C with the parallel lines. We need to remember that they are interior, allied, or co-interior, depending on how you say it, but they are interior angles. And what we know about interior angles is that they add up to 180. So we're going to call this x, and we're going to say x equals 180, take away the 98 there. And so we just put on our calculator, or do it in our head, 180 take away 98, and you get the answer of 82. So we know that this angle here, instead of x, we know it's going to be 82. But the way we show bearings is with 3 digits. So it's going to be 082 degrees. To work out the area of a circle, we first of all need to work out what the radius is. Now the radius is half the distance of the diameter. So to work out what the radius is, we get the diameter and we halve it, which will be 15 centimeters. So the formula for the area is pi times r squared, or pi r squared. If we know the radius is 15, it will be 15 squared. 15 squared is 225. And the way we write this is we put the number first and then we just put pi after it when it asks us to leave it in terms of pi. So it would be 225 pi. Now the reason why we would do this is if we want to keep all the precision, we can do it in terms of pi so we don't have to round it. The experimental probability is the successful outcomes divided by the total number of outcomes. So we're looking for the probability that it's white, so it's going to be 25 over, and we're just going to do 35 plus 25 plus 31, which is 91, and that's our probability, 25 over 91. Be careful when it say total, you must include all of the outcomes, so red, white, and other. So for this question, we need to understand the different types of graphs from different functions. So if we have a reciprocal graph, it looks something like this and like this. It could be the other way around, and it could be distorted, but it basically goes down to a point along here. It goes to infinity, and it goes to infinity along a point over here, and obviously those positions could change. Then we've got a linear graph. A linear graph is just any straight line, so just any kind of straight line, either up or down, and this doesn't look like either of those. Then we've got a exponential graph. An exponential graph just starts really small and then just really increases like that and just keeps going up. And here we kind of have that, obviously the other way around, it starts going down, but here it's actually going up, so it can't be a reciprocal graph. So the graph that this is, or could be, is a quadratic graph because it's a nice U shape. So if we carry this on, it could be a nice U shape. It could also be a cubic graph as well. So it could go up and then down and then up, and that's a cubic graph. But the most obvious one is a quadratic graph. So quadratic function. So in this question we are told that the centre of enlargement is at 6, 4. So let's just put across there. And what I'm going to do is just draw ray lines from the centre of enlargement, and we're just going to go through each of the corners of our shape A. And we're going to just check whether it goes through the corner of shape B, which it does on this one. Let's just keep going. Yeah, it does on this one. but it does not on this one. So it says find the coordinate of the vertex of shape B that is not correct. So the coordinate is this one here, and so that would be -4, 1. Okay, so we're going to start by writing this out a little bit bigger, give us a bit more space. So it's -6x is less than 60. And we're going to do our tram lines down. And we're going to start by dividing both sides by -6, because that's what this is doing. It's timesing the x by -6. So we're going to divide both sides by -6. So that gets rid of the -6 on the left-hand side. And it's going to be 60 divided by -6, which will be -10. Now we've got to be really careful here, because whenever you times or divide both sides by a negative, you must switch the inequality. So instead of pointing to the left, it's now going to point to the right. So our answer is x is greater than -10. So we're asked to find angle BCE, and that is going to be this one here, because you start at B, go to C, and then go to E, and it's the angle you make. And I might just choose a different colour, because we've already got red on here. So we're looking for this angle here. Now, my advice for these kind of questions is always just try and work your way around the shape with angles you know. So, for instance, I'm going to start with this angle here, and we're going to call this angle ADC. And we know that that must be 79 degrees, and always write down the reason, and we know it is because that is an isosceles triangle. So if you look, we've got an isosceles here, this one, and this one. And the bottom two angles, and I use the word bottom because I always imagine an isosceles as being this way up. The bottom two angles in an isosceles are always equal, so that must be 79. Now we've got two of the three angles in the triangle, and the last one is going to be angle DCA. And to work out what this angle is, we're going to take it away from 180. So we're going to do 180, take away the two 79s we've just worked out. And the reason for that is angles in a triangle equal 180 degrees. Okay, so when we do that, we do 180, take away the 158, and we're left with 22 degrees. So we know that this is going to be 22 degrees. And now we can actually work out angle BCE, because it's going to equal angle DCA. And the reason for that is they are vertically opposite angles. So that's just going to equal 22 degrees. Now, it is really common for these types of questions for you to get maybe 1 or even 2 marks for the answer, but 1 or 2 marks normally for the reasons and for the explanations. In fact, I've seen quite a few exam questions where you get 2 marks for the reasons and only 1 mark for the answer. So to find the area of a rectangle, we just multiply the width and the length. So that's what we're going to do here. But whenever you have an expression representing a length or a width or anything really, you just put brackets around it. So we go u minus 2 times u plus 9. Okay, and the way we do this is with our grid. And I'm just going to draw out the grid. And so we've got u minus 2, and we're multiplying it by u plus 9. Don't want too many for some reason. And so we've got u times u, which is u squared, u times minus 2, which is minus 2u, 9 times u, which is 9u, and 9 times minus 2, which is minus 18. And what we're going to do is we're just normally going to be able to add these ones together. So our answer will be u squared, and then we're going to do 9u plus minus 2u. Well, that's just going to be 9u take away 2u, which is 7u. So plus 7u and then minus 18 at the end. So we're going to first of all work out where 9 is on the y-axis. Well, we've got 8 here and 10 here, so 9 will be halfway in between. And what we're going to do now is just draw a line across at 9, and then wait until it hits the line, and then we're going to draw a line down, and you can see here that x is 1. So our answer is that x equals 1. So let's just write out this sequence. So first thing we're going to do is work out what the sequence is going up in. And we can see here that we're adding 15 each time in our sequence. And whatever the sequence is going up in is what goes before n, so it's going to be 15n. Now 15n would give us the 15 times table, and this isn't the 15 times table. So to work out what the offset is, we go and find our 0th term. So instead of adding 15, when we go backwards, we're going to take away 15. And so that would be 10. And so our answer is going to be 15n, and we're going to add that 10 on. So we can write this as a fraction. So it would be 2.84 times 10 to the power of 11 over 4 times 10 to the power of minus 2. What we can do is split this up into two fractions. So 2.84 over 4 times 10 to the power 11 over 10 to the power of 2, or minus 2. Okay, so we're going to start by doing 2.84 divided by 4. So we're going to just do the bus stop method. So 4 on the outside, and we've got 2.84 on the inside. 4's into 2 don't go, so carry the 2 across. 4's into 28 go 7, and 4's into 4 go 1. So it's going to be 0.71 times, and then the rules of indices say that if you divide two powers of the same base, they're both 10, then you just take away the power. So it's 11 take away minus 2. Now the two minuses, the two takeaways, actually convert to a plus, so it would be 11 plus 2, which would be 13, so it would be 10 to the power of 13. Now we've got a bit of a problem here, because standard form must have a number between 1 and 10, and not including 10, at this position here, and this is obviously less than 1, so we need to convert this into standard form. So what we can do is just write the number out again. So I'm going to write this as an actual number. So it's 10 to the power of 13, so it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13. Fill in the zeros. So it would be 7, 1, and all those zeros. And then I'm going to put it back into standard form. Now, the decimal point will need to be here to make it 7.1. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's going to be 7.1 times 10 to the power of 12. Now, with a bit of practice, you don't need to write out the whole number. You'll be able to just know that if you convert that into 7.1, then you just need to take away 1 from the power. But if you're not sure, and it's not an unreasonable number like 10 to the power of 105, then it's just worth sometimes just writing out the actual number and being 100% sure that you've got it the right way around. So here we're given a right angle triangle, and the question involves two lengths and angles, so we know we could be using trigonometry. So let's start by labelling our sides. The one opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse, the one opposite the marked angle is the opposite, and the one between the right angle and the marked angle is the adjacent. Now notice the hypotenuse doesn't have a number or letter next to it, so let's get rid of that. Next thing we do is draw our trigonometry triangles. So we've got SO, Ca, Toa. Now we've crossed out the H, so we're not going to be interested in the SO or the Ca, so it's going to be Toa. Toa is short for tan the angle equals opposite over adjacent. The angle is 60, so it's tan 60 equals x over 1. And so now here we're looking for the exact value of x. So if I times both sides here, let's just get our solving lines in here, and times both sides by 1, or just get rid of the fraction, we end up with x equals tan 60. Now you need to know off by heart what tan 60 is, and we can work it out just briefly by drawing a right angle triangle. Sorry, not a right angle triangle, an equilateral triangle. So that is going to be 60 by 60 by 60. And we're going to put all the lengths around the outside as 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it down the middle. And I'm just going to cut it into half. And so the length at the bottom will be 1. And using Pythagoras, we've got to work out the length here. It's going to be 2 squared, which is 4, take away 1 squared, which is 1, will be 3, and then square root it would be root 3. So we know that's going to be root 3. So looking at labelling the sides here, just pick a colour to make sure it's nice. So we've got the hypotenuse here, we've got the adjacent here, and then the root 3 will be the opposite. And so we're looking for tan 60. So tan, as we know, is the opposite over adjacent. And so tan 60 is going to be the opposite, which is root 3, over the adjacent, which is 1 in our diagram there. So tan 60 is equivalent, it's the same as root 3 over 1, or just root 3. So we need to first of all work out what the length of the side of the square is. And to do that, what we do is we get the 44v to the power 4 w to the power 5, and we just divide it by 4. And to do that, all we need to do is just divide the coefficient by 4. So it'd be 11v to the power 4 w to the power 5. Some people will try and do something with the v to the power 4 w to the power 5, but if you think about it, if I just draw out my square, if it's 11v to the power 4 w to the power 5 all the way around, when you add, you don't add the v to the power 4 w to the power 5, it's just going to be 11 lots, another 11 lot, another lot of 11, and another lot of 11. So it's 44 v to the power 4 w to the power 5 in total. And to work out what the area is, we obviously are going to square that. So we're going to do 11 v to the power 4 w to the power 5, and we're going to just times it by itself, which is what squaring means. Okay, so we're going to times the 11s together, so that's going to be 121. Going to times the v to the power 4s together, and remember with indices, if you times 2 powers of the same base, and they're both v, then we just add the powers together, so that'd be 8. And we're going to add the w to the power 5s together, so that makes 10. So it's 121 v to the power of 8, w to the power of 10. So this question is a simultaneous equations question. And so we're going to have to write down some equations. So it says 2 apples and 3 pears cost £3.80. So 2 apples, I'm going to call it A for the price of an apple, plus 3 pears, so 3p, cost £3.80. Now I'm going to do this as 380 just because it's easier to work with integers rather than decimals. And it says 3 apples, so 3a, plus 8 pears, costs £7.80. or 780 pence. Okay, so the first thing I do is try and get these numbers the same. So 3 and 8, they both go into 24, so I need to make them both 24. And what some people do is they just label this A and this B. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to multiply everything in equation A by 8, so that this becomes 24. So it's going to become 8A. And so we're going to times the 2A by 8, which will be 16a plus 24p, and 380 times 8 is 3040. And we're going to do the same with b, but this time we're going to times it by 3, so we're going to have 3b. And we're just going through everything here and we're timesing it by 3. So 9a plus 24p, which is good, that's what we wanted. And 780 times 3 is 2,340. So now we've got both of these the same coefficient. What we can do is we can eliminate going downwards. Now, if they are the same, the S in same is the S in subtract. If they were different signs, so if these weren't both positive, if one of them was negative, different, the D in different is the D in add. So here they are the same, so we are going to subtract, and we're going to subtract going downwards. So we're going to start off by doing, and I can just do a little line here to show what we're doing. So we're subtracting going downwards, and we're going to do 16a take away 9a, which will be 7a. 24p take away 24p, which is nothing, which is why we did that, is to eliminate them. And then 3040 take away 2340 will be 700. Then I can put my lines in, and all I need to do now is just divide both sides by 7, and I get a equals 100. So we know that apples cost 100, or £1. We need to work out what pears cost. So I just need to pick one of the equations. I'm just going to pick this top one here, and I'm going to write it out. But instead of a, we know that a is £1 or 100 pence. So plus 3p equals 380. So that's going to be 200 plus 3p is 380. And then again, I'm just going to draw my lines down. And we're going to subtract 200 from both sides. So it's going to be 3p equals 180. And then we're going to just divide by 3 both sides. And we've got p equals 60. So a pear costs 60. Now we can check this by using the other equation there. So 3 times 100 is 300, plus 8 lots of 60 is going to be, what's that, 480? So that's going to be 780. So we know that we've got it right. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.